Okay, good morning. You saw the title, you know what we're talking about today. I don't know if it's just my side of the internet, but I feel like we're seeing a lot of burnout, people, especially in my community, which is the book community, reading slumps. And like myself, I feel like I'm in a slump, even though I'm consistently reading. I haven't been blown away by a book in a while. That has changed. Good news, that has changed. There seems to be a little lack of like joy, I guess. This summer will be my 6th year on BookTube, and I just kind of wanted to share some ways that I maintain my love of reading. My love of reading is the most important thing to me. Actually, that was in my BookTube newbie tag, the very first video I ever made. One of the questions is like, what are your fears, I guess? That was my fear.
What challenges will you face starting BookTube? I'm very protective of my love of reading.
I never ever want to lose my love of reading that I've had since I literally learned to read. I loved loving books before I could read, loving them once I learned, and I've managed to keep it. I genuinely don't know who I am without books. And so I thought today we could chat about how I have managed to maintain that very, very special love I have of reading, the book community, the publishing community, etc. So ironically, YouTube gifted me with a great jumping off point, which is I had a video flop to the point where and just add salt to the wound. Like, I understand it was a different kind of video than I usually make. It was more of a vlog. I get it if it doesn't resonate with people, but to add salt to the wound, I was getting messages that people weren't getting told that I posted a video. They didn't get the notifications they usually get. It wasn't showing up in their subscription feed, their home feed. It wasn't even showing up on my actual channel for some people. That is my least favorite part. That is the one thing that could affect my love of reading, is that YouTube doesn't do its basic functions. And that's something that you can't control as a book creator. You can make something amazing and put it out there, and then the algorithm is just like, not today. Or YouTube is like, yeah, I don't want to send notifications to the people who have asked to be notified of your videos and things like that. So really my first point, and this is specifically to people who read and are creators, people who are making videos about reading, kind of a two-part first point is, number one, you have to separate your love of reading from your booktube, your book talk, your bookstagram, whatever it may be. You have to separate that, because I can be frustrated at YouTube, because I always am. I'm always frustrated at YouTube, but that doesn't affect my reading. One thing that really helps with that is that I make things that genuinely make me happy. Like, I love that video, making that vlog. I had so much fun. I had the most beautiful day. I took you guys out. I live in Korea, and so I took you guys out of Seoul, and we went to this beautiful temple that had cherry blossoms, and then we went to a used bookstore, and I had a great day. I had a great time editing it. I'm proud of that video. I love it to death. Make what you love. Be proud of what you make. Don't try and just chase the trends. And at the end of the day, if whatever it is, Instagram, YouTube, etc., pisses you off, it doesn't affect my reading or the book that I read. I read a Jeannie Lynn historical romance. Great time. Absolutely great time. And then my kind of part two of that is choose the medium that makes you the happiest. So I think that there's a pressure where if you want to be a bookish creator, you have to be on Book Talk, Bookstagram, BookTube, blah, 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 blah. Don't do that. So I think it's been like 6 months now that I got rid of TikTok, because I realized I hate the way that algorithm works. It doesn't build community for me. I just did not. I always left TikTok feeling more angry and like just negative feelings afterwards. TikTok isn't for me. Some people love TikTok, and that's so great for you. But I'm kind of bummed that I like gave into the pressure to be on TikTok, because it did nothing for my mental health. Bookstagram, I take not so seriously. I kind of just like experiment and play around with it, and I love the people I follow on there. I love my community there, but that's my place to just like have fun. I don't care about followers, I don't care about reach, whatever. Like, I just play around there. And then YouTube is my home. I love long form content. If I'm talking about books, I need to use my whole body to explain it. This is where I feel the most at home. So finding the best place to express your love of books, if you do, again, this is just for people who want to be book content creators, finding your medium is so important. And if you're like, I don't really want to be on camera, I don't really want to be talking about books, I am seeing a renaissance in written book content, blogging is back, baby. And I'm so happy about it because I personally can't express my feelings very well in the written form. Hence why I need a screen and a little song and dance to express myself. If you find that written reviews is your calling, this is your sign to start a book blog. And that leads me to thanking the sponsor of this video, which is, of course, Squarespace, a wonderful place to host your online presence. They have so many different features, such as a comment section. They have free, easy to use templates that can make your blog exactly what you want it to be. They even have monetization features if you want to sell anything on there. Their analytics helps you understand who you're reaching, how they're finding you, etc. And it's just a really easy way to have your own space online. So I will have a link in the description box, but you can go to squarespace.com/caricanread to get 10% off of your first website or domain. You can try it out right now just at squarespace.com, play around with their templates, see what you can do, but really just like find the best way to express your love of reading online. If that's what you want to do, Squarespace is a great option. Just don't try to chase what you think you're supposed to do. That's my one tip for if you want to be a book content creator, but the rest of this is for just general readers. How do you maintain your love of reading through reading slumps, through books by your favorite author that pissed you off, whether you're putting pressure on yourself to reach goals, whether you're upset that you're a full-time student or parent or something and you don't have enough time to read? How do you get through all of that and still love reading? Welcome to the video. Thank you for being here. Here is how I stay in love with my favorite thing on earth. Books. Okay, hi, Captain Obvious here to talk about the very first part. My very first recommendation for how to maintain your love of reading. Hold on. All right, I gotta get this one out of the way before I talk about anything else. So this is the most obvious one. I promise I have a little bit more interesting things to say. You got to read what you love. I think that a lot of people, when they're trying to get back into reading, they feel this pressure like, oh, I need to read the classics. Oh, I need to read, these difficult books. If you find that like thrillers, those like $1 paperback airport, looking at you, Dan Brown, love ya. I genuinely love ya because you get me out of reading slumps. Don't feel ashamed to, if that's what gets you to read, don't feel ashamed to read a Dan Brown every now and then. I feel like I get in my reading slumps a lot when I'm pushing myself to read certain books that just don't jive with me, and that's okay. But I find that when I'm at my happiest, it's when I am returning to the genres that I love. So for me, surprise, it's fantasy. I love a thriller. I love a mystery. I tend to struggle when I try to read, especially back-to-back lit fic, the kind of quote-unquote weird girl fiction. If I read too many of those in a row, I get really burnt out. And I used to think that, I don't know, I would put pressure on myself that didn't need to be there. But now I know, take breaks, throw a little fun YA fantasy in the middle of all of that. And I still have so much fun reading while also expanding, putting myself out there to expand to other genres, which is part 2 of my other kind of obvious suggestion, which is try other genres. And now I'm not saying that you need to suddenly switch to reading nonfiction or something to kind of shake yourself up, which you can. I would actually suggest looking at different kind of subcategories to your genre. So for example, I was reading a lot of romances. I was reading a lot of like contemporary romantic comedies, and they all kind of started to feel the same. I was getting burnt out. I didn't understand why this genre that I love so much wasn't hitting. And then I discovered historical romance. And so it was still romance. It was still comedic, but it had different elements to it that were fresh, that were exciting, different things that you could play on, different relationship problems that would arise, just like more mischief that could happen. And now I'm addicted to historical romance. So trying to look into what you already love and ease your way into other things is just a really fun way to keep your reading fresh, avoid getting stuck in those like kind of repetitive plots, especially like I kind of had to put romantasy, especially like the enemies to lovers romantasies that I love, I had to put those on hold because I was just getting disappointed. And they weren't like, I wasn't reading bad books. I was reading a few bad books, but a lot of the time it wasn't necessarily the book's fault that I was disappointed by the plot points because that's what I signed up for. It was more of a me problem. Or like if what you loved about Six of Crows was the heist element, maybe look into thrillers. Maybe you don't need magic. Maybe you just need a heist kind of thing. So really kind of do a self audit of like, what do you actually enjoy about the books that you're reading? And can you find those in other places. And just like I said, even if it's like a different time period, maybe you are sick of kind of a Western centric fantasy, maybe start looking at fantasies based off of other folklores and fairy tales from other parts of the world. Don't get caught in the trap of repeating the same book over and over again, because you will get sick of it and it won't be fun anymore. If you haven't started reading historical romances and you are a romance girly, please come join me, make the change. I've gotten a handful to join me, and it's my proudest achievement. Also a reminder that it's almost the end of lilac season, so smell them whenever you can. Thank you. Another skill that I have had to learn, this isn't what I thought it was. Okay. Another skill that I have had to perfect in order to protect my love of reading is the ability to DNF a book. Yes. So it used to take me a lot to get me to stop reading a book. I thought if I started it, I have to finish it, especially like a series. I felt a lot of pressure to, once I picked up a book, this was going to be the book that I read for however long it takes me to finish it. And I also don't like reading multiple books at a time. So if I was unhappy with a book and refusing to DNF it, I was unhappy for weeks, if not months. And that really messed me up. It's messed me up quite a few times, especially because, like I said in the beginning, I put a lot of pressure on myself to read certain types of books. And I still believe that you should push yourself to, like, you should challenge yourself, read books that you're intimidated by, books that are outside of your comfort zone. You should absolutely be doing that. But I was also just like continuing to pick up books mainly because they were, trendy, because like my friends were reading them or they were trendy or what have you. And I was not enjoying them. And so now I've really learned to DNF. And I've had a few questions about this. I don't have an exact science or system to determine when I DNF something. Usually if I make it to like 60%, I'm gonna push through. But recently if there's like 20% left of that book and I'm not enjoying it, I put it down, which is crazy because if I'm in my head, I'm like, you've got 50 more pages, girl, just push through. I've stopped that. And it's really, really helped me out. I typically give a book, like for example, today I started a book that the first chapter was clunky. The first chapter was written, I don't really know what was going on, but now I'm about 50 pages in and I'm eating it up. I'm really enjoying it. I don't want to tell you what it is because I might not like it and I might still put it down. So stay tuned. But I typically give a book, I would say like 15%, and I speak in percentages because I read usually on my e-reader, so I don't have like a set number of pages that I read, but usually 30% is my sweet spot. Or like I would say 40 pages should give you a taste of what's going on. I think that that's a lot easier for me because I do mostly rely on my library, so it doesn't really matter if I return a book. I didn't lose any money. I might have lost some time, but if you're purchasing books, I understand why you might not want to DNF it because you're like, God damn it, I spent money on this. But if you're using library books or you're lending between friends, etc., DNFing really, really helps me keep my sanity. And I do still feel guilty about it, but I'm getting over it. And you can always return to a book. Like that's the thing, is like you can put it down, you can check it out again, or you can pick it up from your bookshelf again. Sometimes there isn't the right time to read a book. You're not in the right mental space. Like to this day, I've DNF'd my Year of Magical Thinking probably 5 times because every time I pick it up thinking like, today's the day, I realize I like remember what it's about and I'm like, today is not the day. Today is not the day, because that's a heavy, heavy book. And I don't know when I will ever be in the mindset to read it. But there's a part of me that's like, you've got to read Joan Didion, girl. Put your big girl pants on and read A Year of Magical Thinking. And I don't. And honestly, I think my brain thanks me for that. So yeah, nobody's watching you. Nobody's judging you. Put the book down. You can return to it later if you really want to. If you are struggling in a way that isn't fun, in a way that isn't just, it's a challenging book, walk away from it. Put the book down. It'll be okay. That's how all of my worst slumps have started, is when I push myself through a book that I haven't enjoyed. So please practice DNFing. It will change your life for the better. I gotta look at my notes. I got a nice long list. Along with DNFing, this is something that I just mentioned, but just to give it its own little space to talk about. Yes, you can put down a book and decide not to finish a book, but you can also decide to reread and give books second chances. Some of my favorite books are books that I actually did not finish and then gave a second chance. For example, Gilded Wolves. I did not enjoy my first time. I don't even think I fully finished reading the first book, but I definitely didn't continue the series. And then I don't know what it was, but I gave it another shot and ate that series up. And I always feel like rereading it. I always feel like going back to it. Maybe this will be my summer that I finally do it. But if I hadn't given it a second chance, I wouldn't know how that ended. Oh, just knowing that like I would be living in a world where those characters exist and I didn't know about it just is heartbreaking. I also did that really recently with A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I read the first chapter and my memory of it is totally warped. I don't know if I'm like living in a different reality or something, but I remember not enjoying the first chapter, put it down, whatever. I had a physical copy of it, so it's been just like collecting dust on my on my bookshelf. And I recently went back to it, and it's one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. It's a duology. I love it very much. And again, if I hadn't given it that second chance, who would I be today? And there's also no problem with rereading books. Like sometimes when I'm really stuck, I will go back to Six of Crows. I'll literally open it to any page and I'll just start reading it as if it's like a TV show that I can pick an episode. I think there's a certain pressure that a lot of us put on ourselves to constantly be reading a new book, because in our lifetimes, this is like the curse of being a reader. We will never have enough time to read every book that exists, and then every day new books are coming out, or like every Tuesday a new book is coming out. So you're living with this kind of sense of joy and dread at the same time with being a reader, and it makes me not want to quote unquote waste my time rereading a book when there's something new I could be reading. But I have so much joy in rereading books, and I was just talking to a friend about this because she had just read Catcher in the Rye for the first time, and I remember reading that like in a few different points in my life. Like, of course, everybody read it when they were a teen in high school, and then I read it again in college when I was living in New York. I think I've read it quite a few times, and each time I get something different out of it, and I have very different opinions on Holden. It's a completely different experience to reread certain books at different times in your life. Also, it could just be fun. Like with Six of Crows, it's like putting on a comfort TV show. So if you're feeling tired, or if you're feeling like all of the books that you're picking up are not hitting the way that you wanted them to, please consider picking up a favorite, especially like one you haven't read in a really long time from like middle school or high school. Don't be afraid to pick up a book you've already read. And we're all different people. You can never step in the same ocean twice, you know? You will always walk away with something new. So give books second chances, and give books second, third, and fourth rereads. Also, it's Kids Day, Orinina, here in Korea, and there is a massive group of children coming to the park. So we're gonna head inside, even though it's the most beautiful day, so that we can chat about some other ways I maintain my love of reading, because I still have a few things to say. Let's go. Back in my room. Different day. Slight time jump. This next one is probably the most difficult one for me to actually practice, because I'm a very impatient person and I love reading, heaven forbid, but it has actually had a negative impact on my enjoyment of books. This is one that we can workshop together, and that is taking my time reading, and specifically when it's a new release that I'm really excited about. So the very first example that popped into my mind is Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. I love Legendborn. Like, if you're new here, welcome. This is a Legendborn fan channel. But if you aren't new here, you know my feelings about the Legendborn series. And so when Bloodmarked, the sequel, came out, I was there day of, waiting for my pre-order. I basically read it in one day, or like within 24 hours, right? And I remember being a little, not underwhelmed, but I remember actually being a little bit confused by it, because Bloodmarked introduces a lot of new characters. There's a lot more lore. There's a whole different magic system kind of thing going on. Anyway, because I was just so ravenous and just wanted to know how the story continued, where it would end, I read it too quickly and I didn't enjoy it. And it actually wasn't until the third book, Oathbound, came out that I did a full reread, and I read Legendborn, Bloodmarked, and then the third book, and all of my issues with Bloodmarked were erased once I actually read it at like a normal pace, I loved it. And all the things that I found confusing, it was like, oh no, you just found it confusing because you were reading at the speed of light and not taking a moment to like absorb it. So definitely that's something that I need to work on. I'm thinking already of the new Cassandra Clare that's coming out. I'm thinking already of the new Leigh Bardugo that's coming out. I really want to try to not read it the day that it comes out. I actually, like, for example, Wild Reverence, I think I got it actually because I got it with Book of the Month. I think I got it like a day before it came out. I didn't read it immediately. I read it at my own pace. I had a wonderful time with it. I'm trying to think of other new releases. There are some now, like I now I have the opposite problem. I actually put off reading books that I really like because I know that I can only read them for the first time once. So there are a couple books actually that have been highly anticipated and are still sitting on my shelf. So that one is something that I'm still working on, but when I find that it does genuinely negatively impact my reading experience if I'm a little too enthusiastic. So the next one is something that we might not all have access to. I certainly don't have access to it all the time unless you were to look up these events online, perhaps. But one thing that really affects my experience with a book and thus my happiness level, my entertainment level, is listening to authors talk about their writing. And so specifically, the first example I thought of was I was not a fan of Alchemy of Secrets, Stephanie Garber's first adult fantasy. I really enjoy Caraval. I obviously really enjoy Once Upon a Broken Heart. I love her writing. It's so quirky and whimsical, and it could veer into annoying, but for some reason it does not annoy me. So I was really excited for her adult. Nervous excited for her adult work. And it just didn't work for me. However, I was in Edinburgh in October. I was there for Halloween. Yeah, I was there in October. I met the Book Leo there. Yeah, I know. Be jealous. And I happened to also be there on a night when Stephanie Garber was having an event for her book, and there was a ticket left. I went. It was her and who wrote Belladonna? Hold on. Adeline Grace. And even though I still will say that book is just not for me, I didn't enjoy it. Listening to Stephanie talk about why she was excited to write this, how it came to be, all the things she's excited to do with the next books and things like that. Just listening to an author talk about their craft, just reminds me of why I love reading and why, like, even if I do devour a book in a day, 2 days, these authors have worked oftentimes for years on a project. Even if it's like the actual act of writing is less time, these ideas have been cooking, marinating for years. And I actually had a similar experience with Samantha Shannon. So I was in Bath. It always happens when I'm in the UK, is when I see all of my author events. But my mom and I were in a bookstore. We had just arrived in Bath. We saw that there was going to be an event with Samantha Shannon that night. And I was sort of like, are there tickets left? And they were like, yeah, come on in. So I got to listen to her speak about the Bone season, and she did like a re-edit and re-release of the Bone season because she wrote those books when she was like 18 or something. And so she's obviously grown as a writer since then. She's got some things that she wants to move around. So what was so funny is I had read the first and second book in the Bone season series, and I didn't like it. It was like meh. I had more issues with it than I had fun with it, so I didn't continue the series. And what was so interesting is hearing Samantha Shannon talk. All of the things that she wanted to fix in her edits were the issues I had. So we were totally on the same wavelength, and so now I know I should read the new version of the Bone season, because if she fixed all of those things, I would actually really like this book. Also, she based it off of Oxford, and I had, like, on that trip, I had just been to Oxford, and my friend had given me like a really in-depth tour. For some reason in my mind, I hadn't pictured Oxford when I was reading the books, and once she said that, I was like, oh my God, it completely changed the geography. Like, the entire map I had of the world flipped on its head. And now I know I have a series. It's basically, I'm going to have a brand new experience with that book when I read it, regardless of the edits, just because I went and I saw an author talk. So really, if you can, I know that, I don't know, like sometimes they have no filming rules, but if you have an author that has a newly released book, try and find if they have any, sometimes they do, like the bookstores actually do film it. Try and see if you can catch an event of your favorite author talking about the book, because I really, really think it will change your experience. And it always just makes me so excited to like just, ooh, I love authors so much. If you are an author, if you are a writer, even if you haven't been published yet, thank you for your service. God, I love books. Okay, and the very last one is pretty much exactly the same as hearing writers talk about their work, is listening to other people be enthusiastic about books. I actually started BookTube because of the one and only Cindy Pham, because I read Six of Crows. I lost my mind and I needed to talk to somebody about it, but I didn't know who, and I don't know how. I stumbled upon her channel, but she was talking about Six of Crows. Maybe I just honestly Googled Six of Crows and she was the first person to come up. And I had never heard somebody talk about books like that before.
Assembling their philosophies from pieces of broken memory.
I didn't know really about BookTube. I didn't really watch YouTube until I started posting on it. To hear her like just yap about books and she was so funny. It made me, even though I had just read that book and had the most amazing time, it made my experience of reading Six of Crows and like being in that fandom 10 times better. And so I really think I have like an issue engaging with people talking about new books. Like me getting recommendations is quite tricky because I like to go into books not knowing anything. So I try to actually avoid reviews before I read a book. But after I read a book, I want to know what everybody's saying. So I'll often go look up, like if I have strong feelings towards a book, positive or negative. If I'm just like, meh, I probably don't look it up. There are so many interesting takes. Nobody has the same opinion on a book, even if it seems like on the surface they do. I feel like what certain people pick up on is so funny. And we just have a really great community online. We're so lucky to have so many people talking about books. I actually just watched Amina on the Book Was Hotter podcast, which shout out to Rain. It feels like all of my friends are hanging out without me and it really sucks. And if you want to talk about enthusiasm,
I'm so excited to be here.
I've never met a person, and I have met her in person. Amina exudes, she just has so much energy. She is so enthusiastic about everything in life. Like we were reading a menu and she was having the time of her life. So yeah, I will link it down below, but she was just on the podcast. The Book Was Hotter, and I literally couldn't even focus on what they were saying because they were just having such a good time.
But I love that series.
I love that. It felt like I was a fly on the wall just listening to friends talk about specifically romance books, and we just have so many different personalities talking about so many different books. So even when I'm in like a reading slump or like nothing's hitting, whatever, I can at least listen to other people have a good time or a bad time. You know, it's also fun to watch people be unhappy reading a book. But yeah, the book community, especially online, you can always find someone who will like scratch whatever itch you're looking for. If you want a rant, if you want somebody to gush about your favorite book with, we're just very lucky to have the group that we have doing what they do. So returning to the list, because it's been a while, at least for me, since I started this video. Number 1, read what you love. If you are in a reading slump, especially if you're having a bad time reading, don't dive into The Grapes of Wrath unless you really like it. But don't dive into The Grapes of Wrath if you think that that's just what you're supposed to be reading, right? The classics will always be here for you. But number 2, try out different genres. Read what you love, but you also don't know you might love something if you never try it, right? Also try expanding genres. Like I said, maybe try like a sub-genre within your favorite section of the library. Learning how to DNF. Learning how to DNF changed the way that I read. I just DNF'd a book yesterday, actually this morning, because I read 50 pages, which is, it's a short book. It was 50% of the book. I could have pushed through and read 50 more pages, but I didn't wanna. And that's okay. I returned it to the library. There it goes. Take your time. Don't rush. As much as you want to consume a book, it's not going to run away. I also am trying to like stress less about library holds. That's a whole different beast. But yeah, taking my time to actually enjoy a book, rereading books, giving them a second chance. I just read Japanese Gothic and I didn't like that author, Kylie Lee Baker. I actually didn't enjoy her first book. It was like a young adult fantasy. Wasn't really a fan. And then I read her most recent like COVID horror novel, which I really enjoyed. Japanese Gothic. So good. I'm so excited. I don't know if the video has already come out yet. I feel like all of my monthly wrap-ups this year have been like, everything is just kind of mid. May, mark my words, I'm coming to you on May 10th. Every single book, except for the book that I DNF'd this morning, every single book has hit. And I'm so happy about that. So yeah, give authors second chances. They're always growing and trying new things too, right? Also go read Japanese Gothic. Listen to authors talk about their writing, find stuff online. Some of them have podcasts. A lot of them go on podcasts. Listen to those. And then finally, watch other people talk about books. Remind yourself why you love reading. Remind yourself that there are books out there that once made you feel something. If you are in a reading slump where you are feeling nothing. So yeah, I hope that any of those helped. I find that this is really great because I feel like I started this video in the midst of when I say reading slump, I more mean like I haven't enjoyed a book in a while. I was like in the midst of one of those when nothing was hitting really hard. And now I come back 1 week. I have read 4 back to back amazing books that I can't wait to share with you, Japanese Gothic being one of them. So yeah, I hope that you find your joy of reading again, or you never lose it. Protect it. It's a wonderful thing to be a reader, I think. So yeah, sorry if this was a little bit random. It was just kind of on my mind because I feel like I have been kind of negative in terms of not enjoying books recently. So I kind of needed this video to remind myself of how to continue my love of reading. I hope it helped some of you as well. So once again, thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this. Link in the description box, but you can go to squarespace.com/caricanread to get 10% off of your first website or domain. Go write a review, go make a website, go make a community. There are never enough voices in the bookish sphere. Nobody reads the same book. Isn't that crazy? Like we all experience the same words on the page, but we never experience them the same way. And I think that that's so incredible. So I will leave you there. I'm going to finish another book that I'm enjoying thoroughly. And now I think I'm going to lock down and my next big project is I'm going to film my Dark Artifices video, which might take me months to edit because why was that book so long? Why is each book in that series longer than the next? I think they're all like 800 pages or something like that. So, please wait for me. I appreciate your patience and I can't wait to share it with you because I love reading and I love talking about books. So I will see you in the next one, whenever that one may be. And thank you as always for being here. Hope you're reading something great. Let me know if you are and catch you next time. Okay? Bye.